Most people don't even realize that they are telling themselves a story. They aren't paying attention to that inner voice. We are all telling ourselves a story about how our lives play out, and you need to take charge of that story. Okay, it's Nugget time, and in this Nugget, I'm going to talk about legends, and legends do exist. They're just not out looking for publicity most of the time. So the legend that I'm referring to is Dr. Jim Lohr. I was just turned on to Dr. Jim via a podcast he did with Tim Ferriss, which is fantastic. And I think we will have that link down below for you guys to check out. Since the podcast was so good, I decided to look up more information on the guy, and I'm blown away by Dr. Jim. I'm going to share just a little bit of what I've been learning from him in this nugget. This guy is such a badass. It's a nugget, so we're going to try to make it quick and give you something to ponder for the next week. But let me give you a little background on Dr. Jim first real quick. He received his PhD in psychology over 30 years ago. And originally, he was training to help broken people get well, as he puts it. And like many other great stories, early in his career, one of his friends saw some brilliance in him and encouraged him to start helping athletes become superior in their sport. And Dr. Jim liked the idea of pioneering something new, so he decided to go pioneer sports psychology because it didn't exist yet. He started a small company to help athletes perform at higher levels in Denver, Colorado. He started working with and studying successful athletes, and over time, he and his team had quite a bit of understanding about success underneath their belt. And they were able to work with all kinds of top athletes in many fields all over the world for a very long period of time. Dr. Jim and his team were on the cutting edge of technology, gathering mass amounts of data on the success and failures of these world-class athletes. He and his team used advanced telemetry, video recordings, interviews, and questionnaires almost every day to learn as much as they could about why certain athletes were more successful than others. And along the way, they took the knowledge that they acquired from these athletes and applied it to a variety of other areas, including business. Their success has been unprecedented, and his wisdom is unbelievable. So what did they learn that was so powerful? The most important thing that they learned was that the most powerful predictor of success for someone is the story they tell themselves about how their life will play out in any certain area in the future. The bottom line is your life is all about the story you tell yourself about your future. And we all have an inner voice that is constantly telling us a story. The good news is that we have the power to decide what the story is going to be. The more I think about it, if I boil down everything I've read, starting with Dr. Covey's 7 Habits 20 plus years ago, all the way up through Case Western Reserve Executive University's program, they've all been saying the same thing. All the most successful people out there have been saying the same thing over and over, and Dr. Jim kind of drove the nail in the coffin for me. The most important thing in your entire life is the story that you tell yourself about your future. That is really, really important. It doesn't matter what reality is. It only matters what you believe reality is. And I know that sounds esoteric, but it's super important stuff. If you have a positive image of how your future is going to go, you're going to go in that direction. If you have a negative image of how your life is going to go in any area, you're going to bring more of that into your life because you're sending your energy in that direction. And here are some of the nuggets I took directly from Dr. Jim in his recent November 2020 interview. It's a podcast that the link's going to be below. Here are some things that he said in the video that really stuck with me. First, the story is more important than what actually happened. Think about that one. He says, pay attention to the story you're telling yourself. One quote that he uses in the video that's really killer comes from Winston Churchill. And Winston said, history will be kind to me because I intend to write it. And I think that's really powerful. I think most people don't understand that your story is your destiny, and it's something we have a lot more control over than we think we do. So you need to start by getting the right purpose in the area of your life that you want to grow. And then you have to write out your old story. You have to tell yourself, what is the old story that I'm telling myself? Next, you have to write out your new story, and it has to be grounded in truth. It can't just be fantasy land. You need to replace that old story with the new story. He said the brain exists for one reason. It's to give you what you need and want. But you have to tell it what you need and want. You have to give it the correct operating information. You've got to get the bad code in the garbage out, and you got to put the good code in. You can change your operating system. You just need to know how to do it. So those are some amazing nuggets from a super amazing person, and I hope you spend some time pondering those nuggets. So to wrap up this nugget, you need to go watch the video at the bottom of this link. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a little over an hour and a half, but it is worth your time and energy. The first step, again, is you need to look at the current story you're telling yourself in any area of your life that isn't going the way that you would like it to be going. Then you need to go think about what you want that story to look like. You need to spend some serious time on it. Write it down, read it, think about it, rewrite it until you love it. Then keep all of your energy and focus on that story. Most people don't even realize that they are telling themselves a story. They aren't paying attention to that inner voice. We are all telling ourselves a story about how our lives play out, and you need to take charge of that story. You're the author, and you can write any story that you want. If you want to be the greatest salesperson in your industry, you need to write out that story and continue to tell yourself that story over and over until it happens. Dr. Jim gives a lot of practical knowledge on how to work through this exercise in his book, Leading with Character, if you want to explore it more. So go get that book if you want to work through this topic. Now go out and watch this video and think about what you want your story to be, and have a great week.